Okay, let's discuss something here that I'm just reading up on, and I'll go ahead and add on that Milan Lucic was fined 10 grand for his actions last night on Matthew Joseph. I think that's perfectly fine. Clearly, it's a phone hearing. You can talk to Milan and say, all right, we understand you were upset on a missed penalty. That's fine. And apparently it would have been a $5,000 fine maximum because it was over the phone. It was 10,000. Now, the Hockey News is stoking this old argument, and I've tried not to make this argument, and I mean that. I totally mean that. Hockey News, an article by Ken Campbell, and people are going to sigh and go, oh, Ken Campbell. No, Ken Campbell, I honestly find he can be insightful. He can be very good. There are a lot of writings in various Hockey News magazines I've had for the past however long that he's written well. He can write eloquently. This isn't it. So I'm going to go through this article. This is on the Hockey News. I'm going to go ahead and link to it in the description. I saw this posted on their Facebook page, so I read through it, and I'm like, oh, I kind of have to talk about this. Because it loops into something I said today, and it kind of almost directly quotes parts of what I said. But it doesn't agree with me on some things. So here we go. This is going to sound a lot like a cheap shot, but hey, just paying it forward here. The NHL actually punished the Edmonton Oilers more by merely fining Milan Lucic $10,000 for his attack on Matthew Joseph Wednesday night rather than suspending him. Forcing the Oilers to keep him in the lineup or make him a healthy scratch is actually more punitive. The guy averages $6 million a year on a contract that has 4 more years on it after this season, and he scored a grand total of 1 even strength goal in the past 64 games. Right there you lose me. Okay. I understand that Lucic's contract is controversial, and I've completely 100% said that I don't think that Milan Lucic at this point is worth the amount of money that Edmonton's paying him, and this is a contract you regret more than anything else. But to start your article that way, again, so let's continue. Of course, 10 grand from Lucic's genes aren't going to change his behavior, and he's just as likely to chase down another rookie and drill him when he's nowhere near the puck before punching him in the head and igniting a line brawl. Okay, and then that's standard fare for guys like Lucic. You know the guys are the honorable, tough guys who are supposed to keep the peace out there. Teams need guys like Milan Lucic to keep their little players from getting abused by players like Milan Lucic. No. No. See, where I differ is this. So, and then he actually does talk about the Chris Russell thing. We'll get to that. But I'm going to say this here. Do I think that there's a place in the game for tough guys? Absolutely. One of my favorite players of all time is Cam Neely. Cam Neely fought everybody. He wasn't scared of anybody. And when Ulf Samuelsson injured him and it forever changed the course of his career, he got out on the ice with Ulfie. He was willing to tangle with Ulfie. And for Ulfie's credit, he did tangle back on occasion. But you know that there's a place and there's a time, and here's where I've been different from what Ken Campbell's saying. Ken Campbell's saying that it is a dinosaur's view that you have this retribution. I disagree, but I think there's a time and there's a place, and I think that in a league where you've got so much parity. Right now I'm watching Washington and Pittsburgh play, and it's been a bit of a slow game, but it's a good game. And there's some emotion starting to come into it. And whoever wins this game, playoffs. Whoever loses it, no playoffs. We're early, but it really is every single game means a lot. So for me, it's a matter of, okay, so you're going to try to get revenge when? Now, what Lucic did is odd because people say, well, you know, that was a cheap shot by Joseph, and that's fine. But I would argue that the cross-check on Russell is a 2-minute boarding penalty. I don't see that as 5 in a game. I don't see that as egregious. It's one of those things that happens. It didn't look premeditated. It didn't look like he was stalking him and waited till he turned and then smacked him. It's just one of those, it's a hockey play. Now, for Lucic to say, all right, I'm going to go out and get him, I'm okay with it. Like, okay, let's back up a bit. Let's say Matthew Joseph, it is a brutal attack on Russell. Russell's laid out. He's gone for the game. The referee misses it. No penalty is called. Joseph stays in the game. I look at that then and I say, you know what? If Lucic goes out after him, I'm not condoning violence, but I'm totally understanding where it's coming from. When it's a 2-minute boarding thing, and you know, it could have been worse than what it was, but Russell was still in the game. I think that's kind of odd because we see that almost every game. Almost every game you'll see a play that go, oh, wow, crap, that was a nasty cross-checker boarding. And I guess then the question I have for it is this, and I even said this in the comment section today, which was, somebody said, well, if referees had called a penalty there. I've watched Lucic for years. If the referees call a penalty there, as soon as Joseph gets out of the penalty box, Lucic is waiting for him. If he's angry enough about that hit that he's going to chase Joseph around the ice without a penalty, he would have chased him around if Joseph had got a penalty. Because Lucic is a loose cannon. The closest I can come to Lucic I with the Canucks in terms of players from the past, Momesso would be like that. Sergio Momesso, big, tough guy who would get really worked up during a game, and he would take a dumb penalty. And he was a protector, too. Ron DeLorme was a protector back in the day, too. I am not saying there's no place in the game for guys who do that. Okay? I'm not saying that at all. But Campbell seems to be arguing that there is. So let's go ahead and continue. Now that I've tried to clear that up, let's go ahead and continue with what he has to say. As it always does, the little temper tantrum cost Lucic, or little temper tantrum Lucic took out, born out of frustration, and that age-old code that suggests that every single act of aggression, no matter how major or minor, must be addressed and then some. What Lucic did was had nothing to do with the heat of the moment. It was a premeditated attack in a game that was out of reach in response to a clean hit on teammate Chris Russell from Joseph that left the Oilers defenseman cut and bleeding. Clean hit. Now keep that in mind, okay? Now Oiler fans are going to be grumbling. Just wait. It was all pretty minor in nature, but that's not the point, because you know who else chased a guy around the ice for his pound of flesh to respond to a dirty play? Todd Bertuzzi, that's who. Don't think for 1 minute that I'm putting this act on the same level as Bertuzzi's attack on Steve Moore, but those in the hockey world who are applauding Lucic for standing up for a teammate or putting on their website, gotta see it, with the accompanying video of the incident, would be clucking their tongues and talking about how this kind of thing has no place in hockey if the whole incident had gone sideways. Very well could have. Lucic is a massive human being. At 6'3", 231 pounds, he's just as tall and 2 pounds heavier than Bertuzzi was when he played. Joseph is an inexperienced rookie who was giving up 40 pounds on Lucic. The slash to Joseph's legs was one thing, no biggie. Even the hit on Joseph wasn't terribly egregious. It's when Lucic, these are his words, not mine, it's when Lucic then basically jumps Joseph and starts punching him in the head that he clearly crosses the line. He punched him once. I didn't see repeated punches. He held him down on the ice. There was an intimidation factor to that. I didn't see a bunch of punches. Those who've never played the game before and never been in that situation are happy to let boys be boys, but they're not the ones taking punches to the head from a 231-pound beast who's wearing a hard hockey glove. Okay, is he arguing here that guys who've played the game would say this has no place in the game? Because I'm sorry, but they do. Absolutely they do, and people who haven't played argue it as well. So the idea that people who haven't played the game are going to have a completely different view of this incident that people haven't is just flat out wrong. There is a fundamental difference in thinking on these kinds of plays, and I try my best to provide my opinion, and I'm not always one who goes, oh, there's no place for that violence in the game. There are times where, yeah, that guy needs to get a good punch in the head. There have been those moments in the game. I didn't feel like, in a game like that, I didn't think that what Joseph did necessarily meant that he had to go out there and do what he did. I didn't think it met that criteria. There have been times where Marchand has gone out there for Boston, he's done something stupid. The submarine hit on Sami Salo, a perfect example, where I wanted every Canuck on the ice to go over and give him a good punch in the head. I am completely okay with that when I think they've crossed the line. So let's go further into this. And it wasn't only that, the scuffle drew a crowd to both Lucic and Joseph that could have been really dangerous if someone had lost an edge or fallen on the pile being Lucic and Joseph. And then there was the predictable tongue clucking would have gone into overdrive. Did Joseph's hit on Russell merit a penalty? Don't know, didn't see it. He says earlier in the article it's a clean hit. Don't know, didn't see it, But let's assume it did. If that's the case, then on the other side, Jake Brink or Dan O'Rourke, who were refereeing the game, it's on them. Perhaps they missed the call or didn't think it was that egregious. Perhaps they blew it completely. The point Lucic was undoubtedly making was, since the league won't protect our players, I'm going to have to do it myself, and it has been thus since the beginning of time. Even though the game is changing, it's still full of dinosaurs who think this kind of thing is completely acceptable. What they don't realize, though, is the NHL players are bigger, stronger, and more dangerous, and they are a lot bigger. He points out that Bertuzzi's 3 pounds bigger than... He points out Lucic is 3 pounds larger than Bertuzzi, and the same height. The Bertuzzi hit was 14 years ago. Okay. Bad example he sets in this one. Milan Lucic wasn't called under the carpet by the NHL because of some insignificant roughing infraction. He was disciplined because what he did had the potential to go very, very wrong. It's going to be a long slog here, folks, before people realize the game has changed and they have to change with it. Until that time, carry on then, and then ... And this is where I'm torn, because you see, people are gonna listen to the things I say about how, you know, I didn't think that what Lucic did was smart, and I thought he crossed the line, but they're gonna equate me with this, and I don't agree with this either. There's a gray area. And for me, a $10,000 fine's fine. I think it's fine for the NHL to call Lucic on the phone and go, hey, it's 10 grand. It's nothing to you. You make $6 million a year. It's not a big deal. We just wanted to talk about what happened last night and explain why we're concerned with it. Maybe they had him look at the footage and they talked him through it and said, look, this is where we're concerned. If you have a problem with a player, that's fine. You want to go out and fight him, that's fine. But when he isn't willing to go, this is what you should do instead. And just, you know, this kind of thing. Because it's the optics. He was called in because of the optics of the incident. It's an ugly incident. It's going to get play on the news. I've told you guys this before. The NHL isn't just about cleaning up head hits. It is. It's just these incidents that are going to get played on networks that say, hockey's just fighting, that's all it is. And in certain parts of the U.S. especially, that's what's seen. And it does make the league look kind of bush league. And I know, for those of us who watch the game all the time, we know that's not what it is. But the NHL is very, very wary of its public, the way it's viewed by the public. I'm going to go back to the Uber thing on this. There was an Uber driver that was fired, and I'm pretty sure it was this past August. He was recording people in his car, and sometimes they're celebrities and sometimes they're not. And he was broadcasting it live on Twitch. And they didn't fire him for that. They fired him because an article came out about it. And it was revealed he'd made $35,000 US by broadcasting them on Twitch. Then Uber fired him. When an incident is really public like this, if Lucic had run down Joseph and it wasn't caught on camera, NHL's not doing anything about this. It's caught on camera, so they did. This is not an argument of dinosaurs. I don't like it when people turn it into that. Because honestly, the game is so much cleaner now than what it was 20, 30 years ago. I watched it. The NHL's much cleaner now than it was, which makes incidents like last night stand out more than they would have 20 or 30 years ago. Line brawls were standard. Bench clearing brawls were standard before the NHL said, we're going to make you guys pay money if you jump off that bench. Then players are like, better not jump over that bench. That's going to cost me a lot of money. And they stopped. And honestly, do I see a point where the NHL is going to get rid of fighting? Maybe. But honestly, it's so low at this point. There's so few fights per game. It really isn't that big a deal anymore. I really don't think they're going to try to completely eliminate it. And body contact isn't going to get eliminated either. But we're going to see suspensions. We're going to see fines. A $10,000 fine doesn't change Lucic's game, and it's not supposed to. They're not trying to change his game. They're just saying, hey, watch what you're doing out there. You're mad, you're fine. But here's where we think you crossed the line. That's all that is. And for Joseph, do I think a message was sent and he learned from it? No. When he's on the ice and he's being pinned down, yeah, he's probably like, oh, crap, he's got me down. I can't move. But when he was over on the bench, he was fine. He was joking around with his teammates, and he seemed okay. It's part of the game. I think sometimes what gets overblown is when we talk about rookies. Yeah, he's a rookie at the NHL level. He's played in juniors. Juniors is plenty dirty. I'm sure he's been on the ice and he's had guys take shots at him before. Were they built like Lucic? No. There aren't a lot of guys in the Quebec Major Junior League that are as big as Lucic. So I'm sure that's a lot bigger than the guys who would have been running him down before. But he's been playing the game for a long time. When a guy reaches the NHL as a rookie, he's new to the NHL. He's not new to hockey. He knows the rules. He knows the code. He knows all this stuff. So I think that gets overblown too, because I see it like, well, he's a rookie, so he's got to learn his place. He knows. He knows. He's been, you know, this was Joseph's 15th game last night. It's not like it was his first. He doesn't have a ton of penalty minutes, so it's not like he goes out there and cross-checks everybody all the time. He gets us a moderate amount of penalty minutes. I saw an average of about 50 a year in the Quebec Major League, so he's not a guy who shies away from action if he's getting 50 plus penalty minutes a year, but because he's not up to 100 or 150, he's not a dirty player. So anyways, I really think trying to make this about where the game is and where the game's going, I don't understand. There's an overreaction on both sides. Absolutely an overreaction on both sides. And we're going to continue to see that this year. I just felt like this incident, more than anything I've seen this year, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous what I'm seeing on both sides. It really is. So after seeing that article, I was like, yeah, I at least have to talk about this. And thank you guys for sitting through it if you did. I'm not trying to throw shade at Ken Campbell because he does this in his articles. And I'm not sure why, because again, when you start labeling guys as dinosaurs and you're putting down Lucic and how many goals he scored in the last 60 plus games, you're actually submarining your own argument. Talk about the incident, talk about the player, but don't worry about his contract or how screwed the Oilers are, or they're more punished by keeping him in the lineup than if they'd suspended him. What the hell is that? That's not. And again, it's nothing. It's something I would not say on this channel. I would never say that on this channel about a player. Like, oh well, it'd be more punishment leaving him in the lineup. I might make a sarcastic remark about certain players, and I might joke around about it. But to actually seriously make a statement like that, which is how it reads here, no. Come on. Give me a break. I'd be interested to know your thoughts in the comments section below. Again, I think in this day and age where everything is just all social media and you've got just media in general just splits, and there's no common ground in the middle, you're just labeled. And I sometimes get labeled as just pacifist and you want to sissify the game. I don't even know what the hell they're talking about. I like hits as much as the next guy, but they're out of the game because we've got so many skilled players. It's just a natural change in the game. You don't have hitters anymore because everybody has to be really good skaters. And you routinely see guys on the third and fourth line now that never would have been on a fourth line 10, 15, 20 years ago. Skilled, good, young players who can really skate and are really smart. Now those are third and fourth liners too. So that's why the enforcer's gone. The NHL didn't get rid of the enforcer. Teams couldn't afford to carry an enforcer. You can't afford to have a guy who's playing 3 or 4 minutes a game and just goes over the boards to fight when the other teams aren't doing it. And then you're wearing out other players and you don't have a useful fourth line. I remember the last few teams there that had a fourth line of mostly enforcers, and they were just getting just destroyed because they would wear out their other players trying to, make sure that their enforcers didn't play too much. And then if they did play their enforcers more often, you'd end up seeing a lot of goals against them because enforcers aren't known for being really great skaters and great defensive forwards. You have your guys like Neely, Lucic too, who can fight, who are big, and ideally Lucic can score. He just hasn't for the last little while, but he can. And the game's evolved. So it's continuing evolution, and I'd be interested to know your thoughts. All right, I'm going to shut up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.